We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples. We'd like to extend that respect to the elders past, present, of all Australia's Indigenous peoples.
This is an episode of Listening to Canberra Voices, produced by the Faculty of Arts and Design, University of Canberra, 2024. Hey, did you want to be on my podcast? Mm-hmm. Hello everyone, my name is Leighton, and today we are out of the closet and into the studio with my guest, Spencer Burns. Spencer is a 22-year-old small business owner and a vibrant member of Canberra's queer alternative scene, and he is here with me today to share his story and the trials and tribulations of queerhood. Growing up, could you ever recall a moment where you thought that you might be a little different from those around you?
Personally, you hear these stories of, especially online, gay people saying, oh, I knew when I was 4, I knew when I was 3, I knew when I was like freshly out of the womb. And for me, that was not the case. I think probably year 6, so when I was 12, and then I came out the following year. So it wasn't a very long lapse of time when I was trying to figure out who I was, but definitely not 4. I mean, I had crushes on girls in year 5, year 4.
I feel like for a lot of queer people, that actually is I feel like that is sort of how it is. Perhaps it has something to do with how you grow up and like the environment in which you grow up. I know for me, it was like, I was sort of in the same boat, but would you say that you did have that supporting environment and a group of people around you who could support you?
In primary school, I mean, no one really knows who they are yet. I mean, I did go to a private school. Up until year 5, I was mainly friends with boys. It's so funny looking back. I'd be playing like ball sports on the oval during lunchtime, and like, that is not me. That was never me. But I look back. I remember at the time I was like, I don't actually even like doing this. Like, why am I doing this? I don't know. I find the environment I grew up not too hostile towards me. I mean, Canberra's okay. Trying to figure out who you are in year 6 is definitely something.
After coming out when you were 13, did you have any issues with classmates or perhaps the school system itself?
My school was not exactly the most supportive. I think like the reason I came out was because I started wearing makeup before I came out. So I think early in year 7, I started wearing like mascara to school, maybe like a little bit of a glitter eyeshadow, if you will. As a result, like especially in year 7, people are starting to build up consciousness. Well, obviously it starts early, but around like queerness. And people would ask me all day, and I'd have my female friends be like, no, he's not. How dare you? I was like, of course I was. But that was primarily the reason I came out probably earlier than I should have, earlier than I wanted to. I was kind of like forced in a position where it's like, if I don't do this, then I'm just subjecting myself to like constant questions.
So you actually you saw a lot of that discrimination from the staff at the school?
Look, I got it from a lot. I was suspended for something that I probably shouldn't have been suspended over. And then I'm looking at the people who are bullying me day in, day out, and like, they got nothing. They got literally nothing. And like, yeah, they got in trouble time for time. Yeah, they got some sort of punishment, but it's just like, I felt constantly monitored and surveilled all the time at that school. And when I'm looking at people who are doing things much more severely, like, not that I was doing anything wrong, like, yes, at times I was, but like people who were just being misogynistic to the girls, like treating women poorly, you know, making lists on girls, like ranking people, it just felt targeted. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that when I'm looking at these other people who are seeking no repercussions. And they were just so concerned, so absolutely concerned about me wearing makeup, me doing all these like points of self-expression, but then there's people like bullying kids. It's just priorities for a school like that. It's like image-based. And it's just, I look back and I'm so frustrated. Like, I'm so angry about that school. And I have good friends from that school, but I hate the institution. I'm so confident saying that. I hate the institution. I think there's so much stuff that needs to be changed. Like, I hope it gets changed. Like, I think it has potential. But the institution, like, at times I just felt just so gross about.
Were you able to seek some sort of support from home?
Well, I'm really close with my mom and my sister. Like, my sister particularly, like, she's always very supportive. My mum's always very supportive. My parents are supportive, but they still deal with their own internalized, preconceptions and internalized, views and judgments of queer people and, people that minorities they grew up, internalizing. So it was okay. I mean, I wish people fought for me more because it constantly felt like I was supporting myself by myself and I had no one to really like back me up, especially like during school. It just makes me frustrated. Like if I was a parent, not that my parents didn't do this because they did. I mean, they did plenty of times like talk to the school about, treatment, but I'd go feral for my child if I was a parent because I'm like, no, they just utterly disrespected me in so many ways. And I don't want to come across like a victim because like I'm not now. Like I'm not a victim. But when I think of during that school, honestly, low-key I was. And it like kind of sucks to say that. But yeah, I don't know. I had support and I definitely had it much easier than other people, but still I wish there was other stuff done.
Do you like feel at all that there was any long-term real effects on like your mental health or perhaps?
Oh, 100%. It's horrible to say because I don't like to think of myself like a victim anymore. I used to be really, really, really angry, and as a result, like quite an angry person. I feel like I talk about the institution more, but also like my peers. Like so many gross stuff to me. When I was in year 7, like these boys like put me into a safety closet thing and just held the door shut for like 30 seconds while I'm banging on the door, just held me in. School did nothing about that. And I dealt with it all the way up to year 12. And it's just like, it got to a point where it's just like, this is just like how it's going to be here. So, I don't know, it's only inevitable when you're treated like that for it to impact you. And it sucks because like they could have done stuff. They could have done more, but they just don't. They don't care.
No, it is very much negligence on their part. Do you just want to go through and sort of give us a timeline of what it was like coming out and how your personal experience was?
Of course, totally. So we talked about it earlier, but I think like me figuring out or like coming to terms with my queerness happened around year 6. Then, as I also talked about, like I started wearing makeup before I came out, and that in itself, surrounded by lots of straight men constantly pressuring me, and it would happen every single day at school, and it was just so annoying. It was just so frustrating. Where do I go from here? To me at the time, like when everyone is constantly asking questions, making comments, it's just like the only thing I felt that I had to do at that time was come out so at least that could stop. And I guess I was so young and so naive. And at the time, like when you are so young, you don't think you're naive. Like even up until year 10, I was like, at year 10, I thought I was like, oh my God, I'm so old. Even year 12, like I'm so much older, but all throughout school, I was so naive, but like especially when I'm in year 7. So I just don't think I really thought of the bigger picture because how could I have known? I had no one who had come out that I knew of. I had no one to at least, provide me with any kind of support on a level where they could understand what I was going through and, possibly provide context for or like their experience for the future. But yeah, I think it was end of year 7. I think it was probably around October, November, I think. Right, I think I started wearing makeup start of the year around April. And so you can just imagine, maybe it was earlier, maybe March. I don't even remember. I've deleted all my photos from that time because it's just so like, I just don't even like to look at myself. Yeah, so I came out on Instagram and I had told a couple friends before, I think. I don't remember how many. I don't even remember what their reactions were. Like, I've kind of blocked it out. But yeah, I think it was maybe on a Friday, and then I came to school on a Monday, and like you could just feel the eyes, and even like teachers in a sense. But yeah, then as I talked about, I got called into the office about how I'm making everyone uncomfortable. It's probably better it was at the end of the year because I didn't have to suffer as much. But I mean, like, it's not like people stopped making comments. Like, maybe I thought at the time that that's what was going to happen, but, I didn't know what it was like to be out. How could I have known? I didn't know. I had no one around me. It was by myself. I'm friends with predominantly gay people now and pretty much exclusively gay people because just like, it's just easier. And like I just don't enjoy being around straight people. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just don't, because they don't understand. And that's not to say that I don't have straight friends, because there are plenty of people who can, support me. But I remember when I was going, but yeah, essentially discrimination. I hate to say that because I hate feeling like a victim, but that, didn't stop, and honestly probably even got worse. Before I came out, it's like, are you gay? Are you gay? But now it's like, you are gay. So now our suspicions are true. And then, you don't even realize how creative people can be.
Don't give them that much credit.
The stuff that people would do to me was crazy. And at times it's just like, I did not even think that this was going to happen. Even like, I don't know, I was pretty gay looking as well. So it's like people from other years. But that's essentially the timeline. In a way, I'm glad I got it out of the way and just did it. And earlier, like, I don't appreciate myself doing it when I was so young and naive. But honestly, the fact that it was just done so long ago, like, it just, just takes that pressure away.
So how do you feel different about your queerness now than to when you came out?
Look, I've talked a lot of negatives on this podcast, and like, I guess when you do experience so much shitty stuff, that's like stays in your mind. But honestly, like now, being so much older and around people who support me and in scenes where there's lots of gay people and I'm friends with lots of gay people, I just feel so much more comfortable. Obviously, I can't overlook the discrimination I experience, but my identity, honestly, is so much more easy to, experience and portray now that I'm friends with a lot of gay people. And I think like once you find communities, it's so cliche and I hate saying it because everyone says this, but like when you find communities where people who are similar to you or have similar interests, you just feel so much safer. And honestly, I feel like if I wasn't friends with some of the people I'm friends with now, I probably never would have come to a space at this point where I don't feel so ashamed. Because I mean, like coming out of a private institution, like you internalize so much shame, lots of shame that you don't even think about. But now that I'm out of there, friends with lots of gay people, I have so many people who support me, and also in a way, people who dress like me and look like me. Actually, it's so weird to say, but like makes it easier. Like if you go out, like say like maybe like early year 9, you go out with a bunch of straight girls and you're the only one wearing makeup. Like and it's at the time I didn't really, articulate this to myself, but you just feel so much like an outcast from these people. But now when I'm around people dressing crazy, fun makeup, fun outfits, loud, crazy, I feel so much safer. And as a result, I've been able to explore what I wanted to explore in myself for the longest time. So that's probably the biggest positive of the last 2 years for me, because I look back at my younger self, even like when I was like 20, and I'm like, God, why would you wear that outfit? Why would you wear that? Like, I would never wear that now, because at the time I was still so ashamed. Like, showing any degree of queerness was like, felt so transgressive at the time. But now, like, that transgressiveness that you feel in what you do becomes easier.
Thank you so much, Spencer, for coming and for doing this interview. I hope you've had a good time. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing that.
Thank you for having me, truly.
We'll see you on Grindr. Night, night.